The moment my phone buzzed, I had no idea it would change my life forever. My heart pounded as I clicked on the notification. A flood of images filled my screen, her in another man's arms, his hands dangerously low on her waist, their eyes locked in an intimacy that burned through my soul. Marie, the comments below, the pictures were ruthless. Damn, isn't she engaged? Looks like her is just a decoration. Some women can't survive without variety, huh? The weight of humiliation crushed me. I clenched my fists, my breathing ragged. My friends were tagging me. My family would. See? This I wasn't just betrayed. I was a joke. With trembling hands, I called her. The phone rang. Once, twice. Then her voice, cold and indifferent. Why are you calling me? That was the moment I knew I had lost her, long before I even saw those pictures. I met Marie when we were just kids. Our families were close, and from the moment we could understand the world, everyone said we were meant to be together. I used to believe that. Marie was effortlessly beautiful, golden-haired, sharp-eyed, with a grace that made people stop and stare. She was always the center of attention, the kind of woman who could own a room without even trying. And me, I was Alex, the man who stood beside her, always watching from the sidelines, always thinking she was mine. Our engagement had been arranged years ago, a bond between our families, two powerful names tied together by tradition. At first, I thought she was happy about it. We grew up together, shared laughter, memories, moments where I convinced myself she looked at me with something more than friendship. But Marie was never mine. Not really. She had this habit of disappearing long nights where she wouldn't answer my calls, sudden trips with friends I never met, a gaze that seemed distant even when we were alone. She was with me, but her heart wasn't. Still, I stayed. I told myself it was just her personality, that she needed space, that once we were married, everything would fall into place. I ignored the warning signs, brushed off the rumors. I told myself she loved me, but love doesn't leave you wondering. Love doesn't make you doubt. I realized that when I saw the pictures. I had just finished a late meeting when my phone started buzzing like crazy texts, notifications, missed calls. I frowned, unlocking my screen, and then my world caved. In a photo of Marie, draped across another man's lap, his arms wrapped around her waist, his lips grazing her shoulder. She was laughing, flushed, glowing, the kind of expression I had never seen her wear around me. My heart clenched so tight I thought I was going to be sick. Who was he? How long had this been going on? And the worst question of all, had she ever truly loved me? I forced myself to call her. My hand was shaking, rage bubbling under my skin. I didn't even know what I was going to say, but I needed to hear her voice. Needed her to tell me this was some kind of mistake. The phone rang. She picked up. Why are you calling me? Her voice was calm, indifferent, cold. That was all it took for something inside me to snap. This wasn't new to her. I wasn't important to her, and for the first time in my life, I had to face the truth. Mary had never belonged to me. Her voice still echoed in my head. Why are you calling me? Cold, detached, as if I was nothing more than an inconvenience. I gripped my phone tighter, my breath heavy, as I stared at the images again. Marie in his arms. Marie, smiling in a way she never did around me. The internet was ruthless, and the comments only made it worse. Guess money can't buy loyalty, huh? Her must feel like an idiot right now. Damn, this guy is bold. Isn't she engaged? My stomach twisted. I had given Marie everything. My time, my patience, my loyalty. I had defended her when people called her distant, unfaithful, reckless. I convinced myself that she was just misunderstood, not ready for commitment. But, looking at these photos, seeing the way she melted into this stranger's arms, I knew the truth. I had been blind. I dialed her number again. This time, when she answered, her tone was almost amused. Alex, are you seriously calling me again? Who is he? I forced the words out, my voice dangerously low. She sighed, as if I had just asked her something pointless. Why do you care? Our wedding is still a year away. It's not like we're married yet. A sharp pain stabbed through my chest. What the hell does that mean, Marie? She laughed, a soft, bitter sound. It means, Alex, that I agreed to marry you. I never said I would love you. My grip tightened around the phone. You're joking. I'm not. The air felt thick, suffocating. My entire body tensed as she continued, her words slicing through me like a knife. Look, you're a good guy. You always have been. But let's not pretend this is some love story, Alex. Our families arranged this marriage. You think that means we're soulmates, please? My mind raced, grasping for anything that would explain this away. Then why stay engaged? I asked, barely able to control the storm building inside me. Because it's convenient, she said simply. Because our families expect it. And because she paused, and I could practically hear the smirk in her voice. You were never going to leave, were you? I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. She knew. She had always known. No matter what she did, I stayed. Not anymore. Something inside me snapped. I yanked the engagement ring off my finger and tossed it onto the desk, the metal clinking against the wood. The wedding is off. Silence. For the first time, Marie was caught off guard. Excuse me, you heard me. Do whatever you want, Marie. I'm done. I hung up before she could respond, my heart pounding against my ribs. Seconds later, my phone buzzed. Marie. I ignored it. Another call, then a text. Marie, you're being ridiculous. Call me back. I deleted the message. For once, I wasn't going to be the one running after her. The next morning, the news had already spread. My phone was flooded with messages. Friends, family, even business associates. Everyone had something to say. But the most unexpected message came from an unknown number. I opened it, and my breath caught in my throat. A new photo. This time it wasn't just Marie draped across the mystery man's lap. It was her, in his hotel room, in nothing but his shirt, her hair messy, her expression satisfied. And the caption? Good morning. Rage exploded inside me. I wanted to scream, break something, find him and destroy him. Instead, I did something I never thought I would. I called her one last time. She answered instantly. Alex. Listen, I hope he was worth it, I said, my voice ice cold. Because from now on, I don't know you. And this time, I meant it. I thought cutting Marie out of my life would bring me peace. I was wrong. The night after I ended it, I found myself alone, sitting in the dark, a half-empty bottle of whiskey on the table beside me. My apartment, once clean and orderly, felt suffocating, now cluttered with memories I wanted to erase. The engagement ring still lay on my desk, mocking me. I grabbed it, my fingers tightening around the cold metal before I threw it across the room. It clattered onto the floor, spinning in slow circles before settling. My chest ached, my thoughts spiraling into an abyss I couldn't climb out of. Had I really wasted all these years on her? I reached for my phone, scrolling through old pictures Marie and I at the beach. At family events, her leaning against me, laughing like she actually cared. Was any of it real? I gritted my teeth and shut my eyes, forcing myself to remember the way she had sounded on the phone. So indifferent, so unbothered. You were never going to leave, were you? God, I was a fool. My phone buzzed, snapping me out of my daze. Another message from an unknown number. I hesitated before opening it. And then, there it was, another picture. Marie again, but this time, she wasn't in his arms. She was alone, sitting in what looked like a dimly lit bar, a drink in her hand, her eyes unfocused, and the message beneath it. Still think you can live without me? My heart pounded. Was this her way of luring me back? A test to see if I'd crawl back to her like I always did. I tossed my phone onto the couch and ran my hands through my hair, exhaling sharply. I couldn't do this. I wouldn't do this. I needed to get out. I ended up at a bar across town, hoping a drink would drown out the storm in my head. But even in a crowded room, I felt empty. Every conversation blurred into meaningless background noise. The alcohol burned as it went down, but it didn't do a damn thing to numb the part of me that was still reeling. I stared down at my glass, swirling the amber liquid. You were never going to leave, were you? The words wouldn't stop replaying, and then a voice. Drinking alone, I glanced up, blinking. She stood there, watching me. Samantha. We had met in college. She had always been the one that got away, the girl who made heads turn, but never let anyone close enough to touch her. We had flirted once, years ago, but I had been too caught up in Marie to ever pursue her. She raised an eyebrow at my silence. Not in the mood for company. I sighed, leaning back in my seat. Not sure if I'd be great company right now. She'll smirked, sliding into the seat beside me anyway. Well, lucky for you, I don't mind broken people. I let out a breathy laugh, shaking my head. Maybe distraction was exactly what I needed. Hours passed in a blur. Samantha was easy to talk to, blunt, sarcastic, the opposite of Marie, in every way. At some point, I felt lighter, like I could breathe again. And for the first time that night, I wasn't thinking about Marie, at least. Not until my phone vibrated again. I hesitated before checking the screen. Another message from her. Marie. I saw you. I frowned. Saw me. Then another text came through. Marie. I hope she was worth it. My stomach twisted. My eyes darted toward the entrance of the bar, scanning the crowd. Had she been here, watching me? A chill ran down my spine. Samantha noticed my change in expression. Something wrong? I forced a smirk, shoving my phone into my pocket. Nothing that matters. But deep down, I knew Marie wasn't done with me yet. I woke up the next morning with a dull headache and a gnawing sense of unease. Marie's last message still lingered in my mind. I saw you. I hope she was worth it. It wasn't just a passing text. It was a warning. I should have ignored it, blocked her number, moved on. But a part of me knew Marie wasn't the type to let things end so easily. By the time I reached my office, I was already drowning in work emails and meetings. But just as I settled into my chair, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Check your email. My stomach twisted. I opened my inbox, and the first thing I saw was an email with no subject line, no sender name, just an attachment. I hesitated, my hands tense, as I clicked it open, and then the blood drained from my face. It was a video of me from last night at the bar with Samantha. The footage wasn't casual, it was filmed deliberately, up close, clear, and damning. It showed Samantha laughing, leaning into me, her hand grazing mine. From an outsider's perspective, it looked intimate, and then a second email followed. This time, with a message attached. Marie, what would your parents think if they saw this? I slammed my laptop shut, my heartbeat hammering against my ribs. This wasn't just some bitter ex throwing a tantrum. This was blackmail. Marie was trying to control the narrative. If she couldn't have me, she'd make sure I didn't move on. Either. I exhaled sharply, gripping my phone before dialing her number. She answered after the first ring. Took you long enough. What the hell is this, Marie? I growled. She sighed dramatically. Oh, Alex. You always react so emotionally. I thought you'd want to know what kind of woman you're associating with. I clenched my jaw. What do you want? A small pause. Then, her voice softened. Come see me. I let out a dry laugh, rubbing my temples. Are you serious? Dead serious? One dinner, one conversation. Then I'll delete everything. No one will ever see the video. Think of it as closure. I knew better than to trust her. But if she had, proof if she planned on using it against me, and I couldn't just ignore it. I ran a hand through my hair, my frustration boiling over. Fine. Where? She chuckled, victorious. I'll send the address. Wear something nice. Then she hung up, and just like that, Marie was pulling me back in. That night, I found myself standing outside an upscale restaurant, my fists clenched as I stepped inside. Marie was already there, sitting at a table near the window, dressed in a sleek black dress, her golden hair falling in soft waves. She looked untouched, unbothered, like none of this chaos had affected her in the slightest. I sat down, not even bothering with pleasantries. Delete the video. She took a slow sip of her wine before meeting my gaze. Eat first, then we'll talk. I exhaled, sharply, forcing myself to stay calm. Marie, I'm not playing games. She tilted her head, a sly smile playing on her lips. Who said I was? I stared at her, searching for any trace of guilt, any regret, but all I saw was control. Marie always knew how to manipulate situations in her favor, and I was about to find out exactly what she wanted next. I sat across from Marie, my jaw tight, my patience stretched to its limits. She swirled her wine lazily, her lips curling into an infuriating smirk. You look tense, Alex. I exhaled sharply, keeping my voice steady. Cut the act. Tell me what you want, and then we're done. She leaned forward, resting her chin on her hand. Are you really done? Because from where I'm sitting, it doesn't look that way. I gritted my teeth. Marie, she sighed dramatically. Fine. You want me to delete the video? She pulled out her phone, tapped the screen a few times, and then placed it face down on the table. Done. I didn't believe her. Show me. Her smirk widened. You don't trust me? I reached for the phone, but she grabbed my wrist, her fingers grazing my skin in a way that once would have sent chills down my spine. Now, it only filled me with disgust. Tell me, Alex. Her voice dropped, turning almost sad. Did I ever mean anything to you? My fingers curled into a fist. You don't get to ask me that. Not after everything. She sighed, sitting back. I just don't understand how you can walk away so easily. Easily. My voice came out harsher than I intended. Marie, you cheated. You humiliated me. You used me. You don't get to act like you're the victim here. She tilted her head, studying me. I thought you'd understand by now. Understand what? That I never wanted to hurt you, Alex. Her eyes flickered with something unreadable. I was trying to protect you. I laughed coldly. By sleeping with another man. By making sure you left me first. The words hit me like a slap. She continued, voice softer now. Do you really think I didn't know that you were never truly happy with me? That deep down, you wanted something more, someone more. I shook my head, the air thick with tension. That's bullshit. You don't get to rewrite history, Marie. I'm not rewriting it. She looked down at her hands. I knew you'd never leave on your own, Alex. You were too loyal, too good. So I forced your hand. My stomach twisted. I wanted to call her a liar, but deep down, wasn't there some truth in what she was saying? I had spent years convincing myself that Marie was all I needed, that her distance, her indifference, her coldness was just a phase, that if I waited long enough, she'd finally love me back. Would I have ever walked away if she hadn't pushed me to? She let out a shaky breath. You'll hate me forever, won't you? I stared at her, my heart pounding. I don't hate you, Marie. Her eyes flickered with hope. I just don't love you anymore. Silence. She blinked, her lips parting slightly, as if she had expected any answer but that one. She had manipulated me for years, toyed with my emotions, played cruel games, but for the first time, Marie looked like the one who had lost. Her hands trembled slightly as she reached for her glass. I see. I stood up, grabbing my coat. Goodbye, Marie. I turned and walked away, not looking back. And for the first time in years, I felt free. I was halfway home when my phone buzzed. A call. Unknown number. I sighed, debating whether to ignore it, but something in my gut told me to pick up. Hello. Static. And then a shaky, breathless whisper. Alex, help me. I froze. Marie. A choked sound. I think I made a mistake. My grip on the steering wheel tightened. What did you do? A loud crash? A muffled scream. Then silence. The line went dead. I slammed on the brakes, my mind racing. Marie had never sounded like that before. Something was wrong. I made a U-turn, speeding back toward the restaurant. I had promised myself I was done with her, but deep down, I knew this wasn't over yet. I sped through the streets, my hands gripping the wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. My heart pounded in my chest, Marie's voice playing over and over in my head. Alex, ... help me. I didn't know what the hell I was racing toward. Another game, another manipulation. Or was this real? I pulled up to the restaurant, my tires screeching, as I stopped. The place was mostly empty now, the night settling into silence, but something felt off. And then, I saw her. Marie was standing near the parking lot, her arms wrapped around herself, shivering slightly despite the warm night air. I stepped out of the car, my heart hammering. Marie. She turned slowly, her eyes wide, distant, a look I had never seen on her before. Genuine fear. I walked closer, scanning her for any sign of injury. What happened? She opened her mouth, but before she could speak, I heard the sharp click of a gun being cocked. Move, and I shoot. I froze. Marie's eyes darted behind me, and I turned my head just enough to see him. The man from the pictures. The guy she cheated on me with. Only now, he wasn't smirking. His face was twisted in rage. His grip tight around the gun pointed directly at me. Marie took a shaky breath. Alex, ... I didn't know. I swear, I didn't know he would do this. My mind raced. I had been in fights before, handled tense situations. But this was different. This was a guy with nothing to lose. Put the gun down, I said slowly, raising my hands. You don't want to do this. His jaw clenched, his eyes burning with fury. You took her from me. My stomach twisted. This wasn't just about Marie. This was about power, control, obsession. I glanced at her. Her breathing was ragged, her body tense. For once, she wasn't in control. Listen, I tried again, keeping my voice calm. She was never yours to begin with. His finger twitched on the trigger. Shit. Marie moved first. Before I could stop her, she lunged forward, grabbing his arm. The gun went off. A deafening bang split through the air. Marie stumbled back, clutching her shoulder, a sharp gasp escaping her lips. I snapped. I tackled him before he could fire again, slamming him against the pavement. The gun skidded across the lot as we crashed into the ground. He threw a punch I barely dodged, my fist connecting with his jaw, knocking his head back. Stay down, I growled, shoving him harder. Sirens blared in the distance. Someone must have called the police. Marie was bleeding. She swayed slightly, clutching her wound, her breaths shallow. I rushed to her side, grabbing her before she could collapse. Marie, stay with me, she laughed. Even now, bleeding, in pain, she laughed. Guess I really messed up this time, huh? Her voice was weak, but her smirk was still there. I thought I was untouchable. I exhaled sharply, pressing my hand against the wound to slow the bleeding. You're an idiot. She let out a breathy chuckle. Yeah, ... I know. The cops arrived within minutes. The guy was hauled off in handcuffs, screaming something incoherent. Marie was loaded into an ambulance, and before I knew it, I was sitting beside her, watching the city lights blur past. She turned her head slightly, looking at me with something almost soft in her gaze. "Why are you still here?" I sighed, leaning back against the seat. "Because I don't want you to die, Marie." A small smile tugged at her lips. "That's the nicest thing you've said to me in years." I rolled my eyes. "Don't. Get used to it." She closed her eyes briefly, her breathing slow. For a moment, I thought she had passed out, but then, "I really did love you, you know." The words were quiet, barely above a whisper. I stared at her, searching for the lie, but there wasn't one. For the first time in our messy, chaotic, twisted history, she wasn't playing a game. She meant it, but it didn't matter anymore. I reached over, squeezing her hand lightly. Not as a lover, not as a man who still had feelings for her, but as someone saying goodbye. "I know." She smiled again, then closed her eyes. This time, when I let go, it didn't hurt. I was finally free. Weeks passed, Marie recovered, but we never spoke again. The scandal disappeared as quickly as it erupted. The world moved on, and so did I. One evening, I sat on my balcony, staring at the city lights. A familiar voice broke my thoughts. "You gonna spend the whole night brooding, or are you coming inside?" I turned, and there she was, Samantha. She smirked, holding up 2 beers. "I figured you could use a drink." I let out a breath, a small smile forming. For the first time in a long time, the weight on my chest was gone. I took the beer from her, clinking the bottle lightly against hers. "To moving forward," she grinned, "to not being an idiot about love." I laughed, shaking my head. Maybe, just maybe this was the real beginning. And this time, I wouldn't look back.